The halls of Oakwood Elementary School were buzzing with excitement. Papers with colorful drawings hung from the walls, and the smell of chalk dust filled the air. Ms. Peterson, the fifth-grade teacher, stood at the front of the classroom with a bright smile on her face. Her curly hair was pinned back, and her floral dress swayed as she moved around, handing out papers to each student. "Class, I have some exciting news," she announced, her voice warm and cheerful. "The principal has asked our class to organize this year's spring recital." Most of the children clapped and cheered. A few groaned and slumped in their seats. In the back corner of the room, a small girl named Sophia Wu stared at her desk, trying to make herself invisible. Her long black hair fell forward, hiding her face like a curtain. Sophia was the quietest student in the class. She hardly ever raised her hand, and when Ms. Peterson called on her, she spoke so softly that everyone had to lean forward to hear. Some kids thought she was strange. Others barely noticed her at all. "This year's theme is hidden talents," and Ms. Peterson continued, writing the words on the blackboard in her neat handwriting. "Everyone will participate in some way. You can sing, dance, tell jokes, perform magic tricks. Anything that shows your special talent." A boy named Tyler, who sat in the front row, turned to his friend Ben with a smirk on his face. Tyler was tall for his age, with messy brown hair and a mischievous grin. He was the kind of boy that teachers found spirited and other kids wanted to impress. "Hey," he whispered to Ben, "I have the funniest idea ever." Ben leaned closer. "What is it?" Tyler nodded toward the back of the classroom. "What if we get Mouse Girl to sing a solo?" Mouse Girl was what some kids called Sophia because she was so quiet and small. Ben's eyes widened. "She'd never do it," he whispered back. "She barely talks." "Exactly," Tyler said with a laugh. "She'll just stand there like a statue." "It'll be hilarious," Ben looked unsure. "I don't know, man. That seems kind of mean." "It's not mean," Tyler insisted. "Everyone has to participate anyway. We're just making sure she's included." But the glint in his eye told a different story. During lunch, Tyler gathered a small group of friends around a table in the corner of the cafeteria. The smell of pizza and the loud chatter of students filled the room. "Okay, so here's the plan," Tyler explained, leaning forward. "We'll tell Ms. Peterson that we think Sophia has an amazing voice and should get a solo in the recital." "But we've never heard her sing," said Lily, a girl with curly hair who sometimes hung out with Tyler's group. "That's the point," Tyler said. "She'll get up there and freeze. It'll be the best part of the whole show." Most of the kids laughed, though a few looked uncomfortable. Across the cafeteria, Sophia sat alone at a table, carefully eating her lunch from a blue plastic container. Every few minutes, she would look up and watch the other children talking and laughing, then quickly look down again. What Tyler and his friends didn't know was that there was a reason Sophia was so quiet. 2 years ago, her father had died in a car accident. The same crash had left her mother in the hospital for months. Sophia had gone to live with her grandmother, an elderly woman named Min, who owned a small Chinese grocery store downtown. Before the accident, Sophia had been a different child, talkative and full of energy. But grief had changed her. Now she spoke only when necessary, and even then her voice was barely above a whisper. The only person who heard her real voice was her grandmother. In the quiet evenings they spent together in their apartment above the store. After lunch, the class gathered again to discuss the recital. Ms. Peterson handed out small cards for everyone to write down what they might like to do. "Remember," she said, her voice gentle, "everyone has something special to offer. This is your chance to shine." As the children began to write, Tyler raised his hand high in the air. Ms. Peterson nodded at him. "Yes, Tyler?" "Ms. Peterson," he began, his voice dripping with fake sincerity. "We were talking at lunch, and we all think Sophia would be perfect for a singing solo in the recital." The classroom went silent. All heads turned toward the back corner where Sophia sat. Her face turned bright red and her eyes grew wide with panic. Ms. Peterson looked surprised. "That's a very thoughtful suggestion, Tyler." She turned toward Sophia with an encouraging smile. "Sophia, would you be interested in singing for the recital?" Sophia's mouth opened, but no sound came out. She looked like a rabbit caught in the headlights of a car. From the front of the room came the sound of muffled laughter. "You don't need to decide right now," Ms. Peterson added quickly, noticing Sophia's distress. "Just think about it, okay? I'm sure you'd do wonderfully." For the rest of the day, Sophia felt like everyone was watching her. Whenever she looked up, she caught someone staring. then quickly looking away. By the time the final bell rang, her stomach hurt from the stress. The walk home from school took Sophia past rows of brick houses with neat front yards. Usually, she enjoyed looking at the spring flowers that were starting to bloom. But today, she kept her eyes on the sidewalk, moving as quickly as her short legs would carry her. When she reached her grandmother's store, the little bell above the door jingled as she pushed it open. The shop smelled of spices and tea. Min was at the counter, carefully weighing rice for a customer, but she looked up when Sophia entered. "Ah, my little bird is home," she said with a warm smile. It was what she always called Sophia, though no one at school would understand why. "Go upstairs and have your snack. I'll join you soon." Sophia nodded and made her way through the back of the shop to the narrow staircase that led to their apartment. Once inside, she dropped her backpack by the door and went to the kitchen. Her grandmother had left a plate with sliced apples and a peanut butter sandwich cut into triangles. But Sophia wasn't hungry. The thought of singing in front of everyone made her feel sick. When Min came upstairs 30 minutes later, she found Sophia sitting by the window, watching the people pass by on the street below. The snack remained untouched on the table. "What's wrong, little bird?" Min asked, sitting beside her granddaughter. At 72, Min moved slowly, her hands marked with age spots, but her eyes were sharp and kind. Sophia looked up, her face serious. "They want me to sing at the school recital," she whispered. Min's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Who wants you to sing?" "Tyler told Ms. Peterson I should do a solo," Sophia explained, her voice barely audible. "And now she thinks I might want to. And do you want to?" Min asked gently. Sophia shook her head hard. "They're trying to make fun of me," she whispered. "Tyler and his friends. They're laughing because they think I can't do it." A tear slid down her cheek, and they're right. Min was quiet for a moment, thinking. Then she took Sophia's small hand in her wrinkled one. "Do you remember what I always tell you about your voice?" Sophia nodded. "That it's special." "Yes," Min agreed. "A gift that you've been keeping hidden." She paused, looking thoughtfully at her granddaughter. "Sometimes the best way to handle people who try to hurt you is not to run away, but to surprise them." "What do you mean?" Sophia asked, wiping her eyes. Min smiled, a hint of mischief in her expression. "I mean that perhaps it's time to show them who you really are. Not because they deserve to know, but because you deserve to be seen." Sophia frowned. "But I'll be too scared. I can't sing in front of people." "You sing for me," Min reminded her. "That's different," Sophia insisted. "You're my grandmother," Min nodded. "Before I was your grandmother, I was a music teacher for 40 years. And I know talent when I hear it." She squeezed Sophia's hand. "What if we just practice? No promises about the recital. Just practice and see how it feels." Sophia hesitated, then gave a tiny nod. "Just practice," she agreed in her whisper voice. What Sophia didn't know was that her grandmother had been hoping for a chance like this for months. Since coming to live with Min, Sophia had slowly begun to sing again, but only within the walls of their apartment. Min had taught choir for decades before retiring, and she recognized that Sophia's voice was special, pure and clear in a way that was unusual, especially for someone so young. That evening, after dinner, Min sat at the old upright piano in their small living room. The piano was out of tune in places, but Min knew how to work around its quirks. Sophia stood beside her, nervous even though it was just the two of them. "What song should we try?" Min asked, her fingers hovering above the keys. Sophia thought for a moment. "The lullaby," she whispered. "The one you taught me last year." Min nodded and began to play the gentle melody of an old Chinese lullaby her own mother had sung to her. For the first few measures, Sophia remained silent, her hands clasped tightly together. But then, as the familiar tune continued, something changed. She took a deep breath and began to sing. The transformation was magical. The shy, whisper-voiced girl disappeared, replaced by a child whose voice filled the small apartment with sweet, clear notes that rose and fell with perfect control. Min's hands almost faltered on the keys, even though she had heard Sophia sing many times now. It still amazed her how the music seemed to awaken something in her granddaughter that nothing else could reach. As Sophia sang the final notes, neither of them heard the shop bell ring downstairs, nor the sound of footsteps coming up the stairs. It was only when Ms. Peterson appeared in the doorway, holding a folder, that they realized they had an Audi. The next morning, Sophia woke up earlier than usual. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her grandmother's words from the night before still ringing in her ears. After Ms. Peterson had left, they had talked for a long time about the recital, about courage, and about using your gifts even when you're scared. Sometimes, Min had told her, gently stroking her hair, the things that frighten us the most are the very things we need to face. Sophia wasn't sure she agreed. As she got dressed for school, pulling on her favorite blue sweater, her stomach felt like it was tied in knots. The thought of standing on a stage with everyone watching made her hands shake so badly she could barely tie her shoes. In the kitchen, Min was already up making rice porridge with small pieces of egg and green onion floating on top. The familiar smell was comforting, but Sophia could only manage a few spoonfuls. Not hungry this morning? Min asked, watching her granddaughter push the food around in her bowl. Sophia shook her head. I keep thinking about the recital. Min sat down across from her, cradling a cup of tea in her hands. Tell me what scares you the most about it. Sophia thought for a moment. Everyone looking at me, she whispered, and laughing. When I was about your age, Min said, I had to play piano at a school concert. I was so nervous that I threw up right before going on stage. Sophia's eyes widened. Really? What did you do? Min laughed softly. I wiped my mouth, walked out there, and played anyway. It wasn't my best performance, but I got through it. She reached across the table and took Sophia's small hand in hers. And so will you if you decide to sing. The fear doesn't go away, little bird. You just learn to fly with it. At school, Sophia slipped into her seat just as the bell rang. She kept her head down, hoping no one would talk to her. But as soon as Ms. Peterson walked in, she smiled directly at Sophia. Good morning, class, Ms. Peterson said. Before we start our math lesson, I want to talk more about the spring recital. I've been thinking about Tyler's suggestion yesterday. She looked toward the front row where Tyler sat, suddenly alert. Sophia, have you thought about whether you'd like to sing a solo? All heads turned toward Sophia. She felt her face growing hot. From the corner of her eye, she could see Tyler and his friends exchanging looks, barely hiding their smiles. They were expecting her to say no, or to be too scared to answer at all. Sophia took a deep breath. I'll try, she said. Her voice was still quiet, but steadier than usual. Ms. Peterson looked surprised, but pleased. Wonderful. We can talk after class about what song you might like to perform. Tyler's mouth fell open. He turned to Ben and whispered something that made Ben frown and shake his head. For the rest of the morning, Sophia found it hard to concentrate on her schoolwork. Part of her couldn't believe what she had agreed to. Another part felt strangely calm, as if someone else had made the decision for her. At lunch, she sat at her usual table alone, carefully unpacking the food Min had prepared for her. She had just taken a bite of her sandwich when a shadow fell across the table. Looking up, she was surprised to see Amelia, a girl from her class who usually sat with the popular kids. Can I sit here? Amelia asked, not waiting for an answer before sliding onto the bench across from Sophia. Sophia nodded, confused. Amelia had never shown any interest in talking to her before. So, Amelia said, leaning forward. Is it true you're going to sing in the recital? Sophia nodded again, her eyes on her lunch. Aren't you scared? Amelia asked. Her voice hushed as if they were sharing a secret. Sophia looked up, meeting Amelia's eyes. Yes, she admitted. To her surprise, Amelia smiled. Me too. I'm doing a dance routine with Lily and Grace, and I keep worrying I'll mess up and everyone will laugh at me. They probably won't, Sophia said softly. Yeah, well, that's what I keep telling myself. Amelia picked at her pasta salad. So what song are you going to sing? I don't know yet, Sophia replied. My grandmother's helping me choose. Your grandmother? Amelia asked. Does she live with you? I live with her, Sophia corrected. Above her store downtown? Oh, Amelia said. The Chinese grocery? My mom shops there sometimes. Your grandmother always gives me a candy, Sophia smiled slightly. That sounded like Min across the cafeteria. Tyler watched the two girls talking. He nudged Ben. Look at that. Since when are Amelia and Mouse Girl friends? Ben shrugged. Maybe since you volunteered Sophia to sing. That was kind of a jerk move, by the way. Tyler rolled his eyes. It was just a joke. She'll probably back out anyway. I don't know, Ben said, watching Sophia. She said she'd do it. Yeah, but saying and doing are different things, Tyler replied. But there was a hint of uncertainty in his voice. After school, Ms. Peterson asked Sophia to stay behind for a few minutes. Once the other students had left, She sat down at a desk beside Sophia. "I want to talk to you about the recital," she said gently. "I happened to hear you singing at your grandmother's house yesterday, and you have a beautiful voice." Sophia looked down at her hands. "But I also need to be honest with you," Ms. Peterson continued. "I'm concerned about Tyler's suggestion. I think he and some of the other children might have had unkind intentions." Sophia nodded. "I know," she whispered. Ms. Peterson looked surprised. "You know? They want to see me fail," Sophia said, her voice barely audible. Ms. Peterson sighed. "I'm sorry, Sophia. Children can be thoughtless sometimes. If you want to back out, I completely understand. You could help with decorations instead, or—" "No," Sophia interrupted, surprising herself as much as her teacher. "I want to try." Ms. Peterson studied her for a moment, then nodded. "All right, but I want you to know that I'm here to help. And if you change your mind at any point, that's okay too." She smiled. "Do you have a song in mind?" Sophia thought about the lullaby she had sung with Min, but somehow that felt too private to share. "I'm not sure yet," she said. "Well, the recital is in 3 weeks. Why don't you and your grandmother pick something? And then we can practice here at school during lunch breaks if you'd like." "Okay," Sophia agreed. She gathered her things and headed for the door. "Sophia," Ms. Peterson called after her. When Sophia turned, her teacher gave her a warm smile. "I think you're very brave." Brave wasn't a word Sophia had ever associated with herself. As she walked home, she thought about what bravery really meant. Maybe it wasn't about not being scared. Maybe it was about doing things even when you were terrified. When she reached the store, Min was helping a customer select a tea. She waved at Sophia, motioning for her to go upstairs. In the apartment, Sophia found a plate of sliced oranges waiting for her. She ate them slowly, savoring the sweet juice, and waited for her grandmother to finish with the customer. A few minutes later, Min came upstairs, slightly out of breath from climbing the stairs. "So," she said, sitting down beside Sophia, "how was school today?" Sophia took a deep breath. "I told Ms. Peterson I would sing in the recital." Min's eyebrows shot up. "You did? That's wonderful." "I need to pick a song," Sophia said. "Will you help me?" "Of course," Min replied, her eyes shining with pride. "But first tell me what made you decide to do it." Sophia thought about Tyler's smirking face, about Amelia sitting with her at lunch, about Ms. Peterson calling her brave. "I'm still scared," she admitted. "But I think I want to try anyway." Min nodded, understanding. "That's my brave little bird." For the next 2 weeks, Sophia and Min practiced every evening after dinner. They tried several songs before settling on "Over the Rainbow." Min thought the song's message about dreams and courage perfectly matched what Sophia was experiencing. At first, Sophia could only manage to sing it softly, even in the safety of their apartment. But gradually, with Min's patient guidance, her voice grew stronger. There were moments when she would close her eyes and lose herself in the music, forgetting to be afraid. At school, Ms. Peterson arranged for Sophia to practice in the music room during lunch breaks. Sometimes Amelia would come with her, sitting quietly in the corner while Sophia sang. After the first time, Amelia's eyes had widened with surprise. "Wow," she had said. "You're really good. Like really good." Sophia had blushed and mumbled a thank you, but secretly she was pleased. Word began to spread among the students that Sophia could actually sing. Some, like Tyler, remained skeptical. "She might be okay in private," he told his friends, "but she'll freeze up on stage." Trust me, others were curious. A few girls asked if they could come hear her practice, but Ms. Peterson gently turned them away, protecting Sophia's fragile confidence. 1 week before the recital, disaster struck. Sophia woke up with a sore throat and a fever. Min kept her home from school and made her special teas with honey and ginger, but the cold settled stubbornly in Sophia's chest. "What if I'm still sick for the recital?" Sophia asked, her voice hoarse. "Then you'll perform another time," Min assured her. "Your health comes first." But as the week progressed and the cold lingered, Sophia grew more anxious. By the time she returned to school 3 days before the recital, her voice was back, but weaker than before. During her practice with Ms. Peterson, she struggled with the high notes that had come so easily before. "Maybe I should drop out," she said miserably after a particularly difficult session. Ms. Peterson shook her head. "Your voice is still beautiful, Sophia. It's just a little tired. Rest it as much as you can these next few days, and I think you'll be surprised." The morning of the recital arrived with golden sunshine streaming through Sophia's bedroom window. She opened her eyes and immediately felt the weight of the jade pendant against her chest. Her hand moved to touch it, drawing comfort from its smooth surface. "Today's the day," she whispered to herself, trying to calm the flutter of butterflies in her stomach. In the kitchen, Min was already up, humming softly as she prepared a special breakfast. The table was set with Sophia's favorite foods: steamed buns filled with sweet red bean paste, sliced fruit arranged in a colorful pattern, and warm soy milk with a hint of ginger. "Eat well," Min said when Sophia appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas with sleep-tousled hair. "You need strength for today." Sophia sat down, eyeing the feast before her. "I'm not sure I can eat anything," she admitted. "Just a little," Min encouraged. "For me." To please her grandmother, Sophia took small bites of everything, surprised to find her appetite returning with each mouthful. By the time she finished, her plate was nearly empty. "Now," Min said, clearing away the dishes, "let's get you ready." Together they chose Sophia's outfit, a simple blue dress that Min had altered the night before, adding tiny embroidered butterflies along the hem. "Because you are ready to spread your wings," she explained as Sophia ran her fingers over the delicate stitching. Min brushed and braided Sophia's hair, weaving a blue ribbon through it that matched her dress. As they stood before the mirror, Min placed her hands on Sophia's shoulders. "There," she said softly. "Beautiful." Sophia hardly recognized herself. The girl in the mirror looked different somehow, still small, still quiet, but with a new light in her eyes. "Remember," Min said as they prepared to leave, "no matter what happens today, I am proud of you. Your mother would be proud too." At the mention of her mother, Sophia felt tears threaten. She wished more than anything that her mother could be there to see her sing. The hospital was still limiting visitors because of her mother's condition, and they wouldn't be able to record the performance. "I know," Sophia whispered, blinking back tears. "I'll sing for her too." The walk to school seemed both too long and too short. With each step, Sophia mentally rehearsed her song, touching the jade pendant whenever doubt crept in. Min walked beside her, occasionally squeezing her hand in silent support. When they arrived at Oakwood Elementary, the school was already buzzing with activity. Parents and siblings were streaming through the front doors, programs in hand. Backstage in Ms. Peterson's classroom, children in costumes rushed about, some practicing last-minute steps, others helping each other with props or outfits. Ms. Peterson spotted Sophia and Min the moment they entered and hurried over, her face bright with excitement. "Sophia, you look wonderful," she said warmly. Then turning to Min, "You must be Sophia's grandmother. It's lovely to meet you properly." Min shook Ms. Peterson's hand. "Thank you for all you've done to help my granddaughter." Ms. Peterson smiled. "It's been my pleasure. Sophia has a remarkable gift." She turned back to Sophia. "We have about 20 minutes before the recital begins. Would you like to warm up your voice a little?" Sophia nodded, and Ms. Peterson led them to a quiet corner of the room. There, Sophia went through the warm-up exercises they had practiced, starting with soft humming and gradually moving into scales. Her voice was clear and steady, much to her relief. Just as they finished, the principal appeared at the classroom door. "5 minutes, everyone," he called. Suddenly, the nervous energy in the room doubled. Children scrambled to get in line. Parents gave last-minute hugs, and teachers tried to maintain some semblance of order. Amelia appeared at Sophia's side, dressed in a glittering costume for her dance routine. "Good luck," she whispered, giving Sophia a quick hug before hurrying to join Lily and Grace. Across the room, Tyler stood with a group of boys who were performing a comedy skit. He caught Sophia's eye and quickly looked away, but not before she noticed the uncertainty on his face. He had expected her to back out, and now he didn't know what to think. "It's time," Ms. Peterson announced. "Remember, everyone, just do your best and have fun." Min gave Sophia one final hug. "Fly, little bird," she whispered. As the children filed out toward the auditorium, Sophia felt a strange calm settle over her. The fear was still there, buzzing beneath her skin, but it no longer seemed to control her. The auditorium was packed. Every seat was filled, and parents stood along the back wall. The lights were bright, making it hard to see individual faces in the audience, which Sophia found comforting. The recital began with a welcome from the principal, followed by a group of first graders performing a song about spring. Act after act took the stage. Dancers, musicians, a boy who could solve a Rubik's Cube in under a minute, twins who performed an elaborate jump rope routine. Amelia and her friends danced beautifully, earning enthusiastic applause. Tyler's group performed their comedy skit, which had everyone laughing. Sophia watched it all from the wings, her hand never leaving the jade pendant. And then suddenly, it was her turn. Next, the principal announced, consulting his program, we have a solo performance by Sophia Wu, singing Over the Rainbow. A murmur rippled through the audience. Most people knew Sophia as the quietest girl in 5th grade. Some exchanged confused looks, wondering if there had been a mistake. Ms. Peterson, who was playing piano for several of the acts, took her place at the grand piano on the side of the stage. She gave Sophia an encouraging nod. Sophia stepped out onto the stage, blinking in the bright lights. The audience fell silent. From somewhere in the front row, she heard a whispered, "That's Mouse Girl," followed by a shushing sound. She took her place at the center of the stage, her legs trembling slightly. The microphone stood before her, tall and intimidating. She looked at Ms. Peterson, who smiled and mouthed, "Whenever you're ready." Sophia closed her eyes. She thought of her grandmother's words, "Fly, little bird." She thought of her mother fighting to recover in a hospital bed. She thought of Tyler and his friends waiting for her to fail. And finally, she thought of herself. All the time she had been too afraid to speak up, too scared to be seen. Her hand tightened around the jade pendant. She took a deep breath and nodded to Ms. Peterson. The piano began to play the familiar introduction. Sophia opened her mouth, and for one terrifying moment no sound came out. From the audience she heard a few nervous coughs, a shuffle of movement. But then, just as the moment stretched to breaking point, she found her voice. The first note was soft but pure. By the second line of the song, something remarkable was happening. Her voice grew stronger, fuller, rising effortlessly to fill every corner of the auditorium. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high. The transformation was immediate and stunning. The shy, whisper-voiced girl vanished, replaced by a child whose voice soared with a clarity and emotion that seemed impossible for someone so young. It wasn't just that she hit the notes perfectly, though she did. It was the feeling she poured into each word, as if she understood exactly what it meant to dream of a place beyond the rainbows. In the audience, mouths fell open in astonishment. Parents who had been checking their phones looked up, captivated. Even the youngest children stopped fidgeting to listen. Halfway through the song, Sophia opened her eyes. The fear was gone. In its place was something new, joy. She was no longer singing just to prove Tyler wrong or to make her grandmother proud. She was singing because, for the first time in 2 years, she remembered how it felt to be fully herself. As she reached the final verse, her voice lifted to its highest, clearest notes. From her spot at the piano, Ms. Peterson blinked back tears, never missing a note despite her emotion. If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? The final note hung in the air like a promise. For 3 heartbeats, the auditorium was completely silent. Then the room erupted. The applause was deafening. People rose to their feet, cheering and clapping with genuine amazement. Some wiped away tears. In the front row, Sophia could now see Min standing, her hands pressed together over her heart, her face shining with pride and joy. Near the back of the auditorium, Ms. Chen, the school secretary, was already on her phone. "You need to hear this," she was saying urgently. "I'm sending you a video right now." She had recognized Sophia's extraordinary gift and was calling a friend who worked at the city's prestigious children's choir. In the wings, Tyler stood frozen, his mouth slightly open. He had expected Sophia to fail, to stand mute with stage fright, or to sing in the same whisper she always spoke in. He had never imagined this transformation. Beside him, Ben whispered, "Whoa, who knew Mouse Girl could do that?" Tyler shook his head slowly. "Her name is Sophia," he corrected quietly. On stage, Sophia took a small bow, her cheeks flushed with excitement. The applause showed no sign of stopping. The principal hurried onto the stage, visibly moved. "Well," he said into his microphone, his voice a bit shaky, "I think we've just witnessed something very special. Thank you, Sophia." As she walked off stage on legs that felt like they might give way at any moment, Sophia was met by a rush of her classmates. Amelia was the first to reach her, throwing her arms around her. "That was amazing," she exclaimed. Why didn't you ever tell anyone you could sing like that? Sophia couldn't find words to answer. She was still floating somewhere between disbelief and... The day after the recital, Sophia woke to the sound of rain pattering against her bedroom window. For a moment, she wondered if it had all been a dream, standing on that stage, finding her voice, the thunderous applause. But then she felt the jade pendant still hanging around her neck, and she knew it had been real. When she walked into the kitchen, Min was already on the phone, speaking rapidly in Chinese. She smiled when she saw Sophia and gestured for her to sit down for breakfast, continuing her animated conversation. Sophia could tell from her grandmother's tone that something exciting was happening. Finally, Min hung up and turned to Sophia with shining eyes. "That was your mother's doctor," she said. "I sent her the video of you singing, and she watched it with your mother this morning." Min's voice caught slightly. "Your mother cried, little bird." Happy tears. She asked them to play it 3 times. Sophia felt her own eyes fill with tears. "She saw me sing?" Min nodded, sitting down beside her granddaughter. "Yes, and the doctor said it was the most responsive she's been in months." She spoke several sentences clearly afterward. Min took Sophia's hands in hers. "He believes seeing you perform like that, so strong, so brave, it gave her new motivation for her recovery." Sophia could hardly process this news. The thought that her singing had somehow reached her mother, had helped her in some way, felt like a miracle. "There's more," Min continued. "Ms. Chen, the school secretary, sent your video to the director of the city children's choir. They want to meet you this weekend for an audition." "An audition?" Sophia whispered, her eyes wide. "But I don't know anything about choir singing." "You know how to use your gift," Min replied simply. "The rest they can teach you." At school that day, everything was different. As Sophia walked down the hallway to her classroom, students stopped to stare and whisper. Not unkindly, but with a new kind of attention. A 6th-grade girl she barely knew stopped her to say, "Your singing yesterday was beautiful." 2 3rd-graders asked for her autograph, giggling. When she entered Ms. Peterson's classroom, a small cheer broke out. Sophia blushed deeply, still uncomfortable with being the center of attention. But there was something nice about it, too. A warm feeling that spread through her chest. "All right, settle down," Ms. Peterson said, though she was smiling broadly. "Sophia's still the same person she was before the recital." She gave Sophia a wink that seemed to say, "Even if the rest of us are seeing that person clearly for the first time." During lunch, Sophia found herself surrounded by classmates eager to sit with her. Amelia scooted close on one side while Lily and Grace squeezed in on the other. Even boys who had never spoken to her before found reasons to pass by their table. "Do you take singing lessons?" Grace asked. Sophia shook her head. "Just with my grandmother. She used to be a music teacher." "How long have you been able to sing like that?" Lily wanted to know. Sophia thought about it. "I always liked singing," she said quietly. "But after my dad died and my mom got hurt, I stopped for a while. It made me too sad." The girls grew solemn at this. "I didn't know about your dad," Amelia said softly. "I'm sorry," Sophia nodded, touching her pendant. "It's okay. Well, not okay, but better than it was." As they were talking, Sophia noticed Tyler hovering nearby with his lunch tray, looking uncertain. After his apology yesterday, she wasn't sure how to act around him. But something in his hesitant expression made her decision for her. "You can sit with us if you want," she offered, gesturing to an empty spot across the table. Tyler looked surprised, then relieved. "Thanks," he said, sliding into the seat. For a few minutes he ate in silence while the girls continued chatting about the recital. Then he cleared his throat. "So, are you going to join the school choir now?" he asked Sophia. "Maybe," she replied. "I have an audition for the city children's choir this weekend." Tyler's eyebrows shot up. "Wow, that's the serious one. My cousin tried out 3 times and never got in." "Really?" Sophia felt a flutter of anxiety. "Yeah, but she's not nearly as good as you," Tyler added hastily. "I bet they'll take you right away." Sophia wasn't sure how to respond to this unexpected support from the boy who had tried to humiliate her just 2 weeks ago. "Thanks," she said simply. The rest of the week passed in a blur of newfound attention and preparation for the audition. Each evening, Min worked with Sophia on breathing techniques and vocal exercises she remembered from her teaching days. They selected 3 songs that showcased different aspects of Sophia's voice: a traditional folk song, a classical piece, and Over the Rainbow, which had become Sophia's signature. Remember, Min told her as they practiced, the most important thing is not to impress them with technical skill, but to make them feel something when you sing. That is the true gift. On Saturday morning, Sophia and Min took the bus downtown to the Westlake Music Academy, where the children's choir rehearsed. The building was imposing, all glass and stone with giant musical notes embedded in the walkway leading to the entrance. Inside, they found a reception area where several other children and their parents were waiting. Some of the children were practicing scales under their breath or flipping through sheet music. All of them looked polished and confident, in a way that made Sophia feel small and unprepared in her simple blue dress, the same one she had worn for the recital. Maybe this was a mistake, she whispered to Min as they took seats in the corner. Everyone looks like they've been doing this forever. Min squeezed her hand. And yet none of them was specifically invited to audition after a single performance. She reminded her, "Be yourself, little bird. That is enough." When Sophia's name was called, Min gave her one last encouraging nod before she followed a stern-looking woman down a hallway to a large rehearsal room. Inside, 3 adults sat at a long table, a man with gray hair and glasses, a younger woman with her hair pulled back in a tight bun, and a middle-aged woman with kind eyes who smiled when Sophia entered. "You must be Sophia Wu," the man said, consulting a clipboard. "I'm Dr. Harper, the artistic director of the choir. These are Ms. Winters and Mrs. Rivera, our vocal coaches." Sophia nodded, her throat suddenly dry. "Ms. Chen sent us a rather remarkable video of you singing at your school recital," Dr. Harper continued. "We'd like to hear you in person. What have you prepared for us today?" Sophia's hand went to her pendant. 3 songs, she managed to say. A folk song, a classical piece, and Over the Rainbow. "Let's start with Over the Rainbow since we're already familiar with your interpretation," suggested Mrs. Rivera. The one with the kind eyes, Ms. Winters. The woman with the tight bun went to the piano. "Do you need the introduction?" she asked. Sophia shook her head. "I can start without it." Ms. Winters looked slightly impressed and nodded. Sophia took a deep breath, closed her eyes for a moment, and began to sing. Once again, the transformation was immediate. The nervous, hesitant girl disappeared, replaced by a performer of surprising poise and emotional depth. Her voice filled the rehearsal room with the same clear, pure sound that had astonished the audience at the recital. When she finished, there was a moment of silence before Dr. Harper spoke. "That was lovely, Sophia. Now let's hear the classical piece." The audition continued with Sophia performing her other prepared songs. The panel asked her to do some scales and vocal exercises, testing her range and ability to follow musical direction. Throughout it all, Sophia felt a growing confidence. This was a language she understood, even if she was just beginning to learn it. Finally, Dr. Harper set down his clipboard. "Thank you, Sophia. That will be all for now. Would you please ask your grandmother to come in? We'd like to speak with her." Sophia's stomach tightened with anxiety. Was this good or bad? She couldn't tell from their expressions. She nodded and went to fetch Min. When Min entered the rehearsal room, Sophia waited outside, pacing the hallway nervously. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, the door opened, and Min emerged with the 3 panel members. All of them were smiling. "Sophia," Dr. Harper said, "we would like to offer you a place in the City Children's Choir, effective immediately. Your grandmother has given her consent and will be sending home all the details about rehearsal schedules and performances." Sophia's mouth fell open. "Really?" Mrs. Rivera laughed warmly. "Yes, really. Your voice is extraordinary, especially for someone with no formal training. We're excited to help you develop your gift." "There will be a lot of hard work ahead," Ms. Winters cautioned, though her expression had softened considerably. "But we believe you have what it takes." On the bus ride home, Sophia sat in stunned silence while Min chatted excitedly about the scholarship they had offered, covering all choir expenses, including travel to performances, the opportunity for private vocal lessons, and the possibility of solos in upcoming concerts. "They said they haven't heard a voice like yours in a child your age in over a decade," Min told her, beaming with pride. "I can't believe it's happening," Sophia whispered. "All because of a joke," Min took her hand. "No, little bird. The joke may have given you the opportunity, but what happened afterward was because of your courage and your gift. Never forget that." That evening, they celebrated with a special dinner. Min made all of Sophia's favorite dishes, and they video called the hospital so Sophia's mother could join in the celebration. Her mother still struggled to speak for long period. 6 months had passed since the school recital that changed everything. The leaves on the trees outside Sophia's bedroom window had turned from spring green to summer fullness, and were now wearing their autumn colors. Inside Min's apartment, the calendar on the kitchen wall was circled with a bright red marker around today's date, October 15th. Sophia stood in front of her mirror, carefully straightening the collar of her formal white blouse. Over it, she wore the navy blue vest with the embroidered gold logo of the City Children's Choir. Her black skirt had been pressed perfectly by Min the night before. The jade pendant, now a permanent fixture around her neck, completed the outfit. "Are you ready, little bird?" Min called from the living room. "We need to leave soon." "Almost," Sophia replied, her voice stronger and more confident than it had been 6 months ago. She wasn't loud. She would never be loud. But the whisper was gone, replaced by a calm, clear way of speaking that matched the person she was becoming. Today was a big day. The City Children's Choir was giving its fall concert at the Grand Hall downtown. It would be Sophia's first major performance with the group, and she had a solo. Just 16 measures in the middle of a traditional folk song, but still. A solo in her first concert. But that wasn't what made Sophia's heart beat faster whenever she thought about today. The real reason was sitting in the living room with Min, her mother, home from the hospital for good. Li Wei-Wu had been released from rehabilitation 3 weeks earlier, much to the delight and relief of both Sophia and Min. She still used a walker to get around, and her speech was sometimes slow and deliberate, but the doctors were amazed by her progress. "The strongest recovery we've seen in a case like this," they had said. Li Wei herself credited her daughter's singing with giving her the motivation to fight harder in therapy. After seeing the video of Sophia at the recital, she had pushed herself in every session, determined to be present for whatever came next in her daughter's journey. And today, she would hear Sophia sing in person for the first time. Sophia took one last look in the mirror, tucked a stray hair back into place, and went to join her mother and grandmother in the living room. Li Wei was dressed in a beautiful blue dress that Min had altered to make it easier to put on with her limited mobility. Her hair, once long like Sophia's, was now cut short, a practical choice during her hospital stay that she had decided to keep. When she saw her daughter, her face lit up with a smile. "Beautiful," she said, reaching out her hand. Her voice still had a slight hesitation between words, but it grew stronger each day. Sophia took her mother's hand and squeezed it gently. "Are you sure you're up for this? It's a long program." Li Wei raised an eyebrow in a way that made her look so much like her old self that Sophia had to smile. "I sat through 6 hours of physical therapy yesterday. I can handle a 90-minute concert." Min chuckled as she gathered her purse and keys. "She has you there, little bird. Now let's go. Your Aunt Lynn is meeting us at the hall." The taxi ride downtown was filled with nervous excitement. Sophia hummed her solo part quietly under her breath, while Min reminded her of the breathing techniques they had practiced. Li Wei watched them both with a contentment that made her face look younger than it had in years. When they arrived at the Grand Hall, the magnificent building was already filling with families and music lovers. Min helped Li Wei navigate the steps with her walker, while Sophia carried the special cushion her mother needed for comfort during long sits. In the lobby, they found Aunt Lynn waiting for them, elegant in a red dress and heels. She hugged each of them warmly, taking extra care with her sister. "You look wonderful," she told Li Wei. "California has been too long without you. Once Sophia's singing career is properly launched, you must all come stay with me." Li Wei laughed softly. "One step at a time." As they were talking, Tyler and his parents appeared in the lobby. Over the past months, Tyler had become something of a friend to Sophia. After his apology at the recital, he had made genuine efforts to be kind, even defending her once when some 6th graders made comments about her, going from nobody to diva overnight. "Hey, Sophia," he called, waving as he approached. "Good luck today," Sophia waved back. "Thanks for coming." "Are you kidding? The whole class is here. Ms. Peterson got the school to arrange a bus." He pointed toward a group gathering near the doors, and Sophia spotted Amelia, Lily, and several other classmates, along with Ms. Peterson herself. "I should go backstage," Sophia said, suddenly aware of the time. Min nodded. We'll find our seats. Remember everything we practiced. Li Wei touched Sophia's cheek gently. Sing with your heart, she said. The voice will follow. With a last smile at her family, Sophia hurried toward the backstage area. There, 30 other children in matching uniforms were gathering around Dr. Harper, who was giving last-minute instructions. Ms. Winters was checking each child's appearance, straightening collars and tucking in shirts with brisk efficiency. Sophia, right on time, Dr. Harper said when he spotted her. Are you feeling prepared for your solo? Sophia nodded, surprised to realize it was true. 6 months of intensive training with the choir had built not just her skill but her confidence. Yes, sir. I'm ready, he smiled. Good. Remember, just as we practiced, connect with the emotion of the piece and the audience will connect with you. The children lined up in their assigned order. As one of the newest and younger members, Sophia was in the second row, just right of center. Perfect placement for her solo, Ms. Winters had explained, as it would allow her to step forward slightly when the time came. From behind the curtain, they could hear the murmur of the audience growing as more people took their seats. Sophia took slow, deep breaths, using the techniques Min had taught her to calm the flutter of butterflies in her stomach. Then it was time. The children filed onto the stage in perfect formation, taking their places on the risers. As the curtain rose, the bright lights momentarily blinded Sophia, making it impossible to see individual faces in the audience. But she knew exactly where her mother and grandmother were sitting, 5th row center, the best seats Min could secure, with Li Wei positioned at the end of the row for easier access. The concert began with the full choir singing a series of classical pieces, their young voices blending in perfect harmony under Dr. Harper's direction. Sophia lost herself in the music, all nervousness forgotten as she became part of something larger than herself. Then came the folk song section of the program. The piece containing Sophia's solo was Third in the Set, a traditional Chinese song about a bird finding its way home after a long winter. Dr. Harper had chosen it specifically for her after learning about her Chinese heritage and her connection to her grandmother. The introduction began. Sophia felt a moment of panic. What if she forgot the words? What if her voice cracked? What if she let everyone down? But then her hand found the jade pendant and she remembered Min's words from long ago. The fear doesn't go away. You just learn to fly with it. The choir sang the first verse together, their voices gentle and flowing. Then, as planned, they softened to a near whisper as Sophia took one small step forward for her solo. In the seconds before she began, Sophia looked out at the audience. Though the lights were still too bright to see clearly, she felt rather than saw her mother's presence, singing for her, to her about finding the way home. It felt right in a way that went beyond the music itself. Sophia opened her mouth and began to sing. Her voice, clear and pure, rose above the gentle background of the choir. The Chinese lyrics, which she had practiced for hours with Min to ensure perfect pronunciation, flowed like water. The song told of a bird's long journey, of storms weathered and distances crossed, of the joy of finally seeing familiar trees on the horizon. As she sang, something remarkable happened in the audience. Li Wei, who had been seated with her walker carefully positioned beside her, slowly rose to her feet. It was the first time she had stood unassisted in public since the accident. Min reached up to steady her, but Li Wei gently waved her away. She stood straight and tall, tears streaming down her face as her daughter's voice filled the grand space. Sophia didn't see this as she sang, lost in the music and the moment. But she felt something shift in the air, a collective holding of breath, a special kind of silence that surrounds a truly moving performance. When her solo ended and the choir rejoined at full volume, there was an almost imperceptible break in the music, not enough to be called a mistake, but a moment where several choristers seemed momentarily distracted. Only later would Sophia learn that they had seen what she couldn't. Her mother standing, the audience around her quietly moved to tears. The remainder of the concert passed in a blur of music and light. When the final piece ended, the audience erupted in applause. Dr. Harper motioned for the soloists from various pieces to step forward for individual recognition. When Sophia's name was called, the applause grew notably louder, with scattered cheers that she recognized as coming from her classmates. After the performance, Families gathered in the lobby for a reception. Sophia made her way through the crowd, still in the strange, floaty feeling that came after performing. She spotted her family near one of the tall windows, Aunt Lynn and Min flanking Li Wei, who was seated again, looking tired but happy.